I hope you noticed as we looked at trust that you can actually use trusts to create a mechanism to utilize the single sign-in from Microsoft, the single sign-in capability to pass through the Windows username and let applications like ProcessBook connect automatically using Windows authentication. So that is available, but primarily and originally the trusts were defined for interfaces. Interfaces are something we work with all the time. Every customer has an interface, and to be honest, the single most common mistakes we see with trusts all tend to be associated with interfaces. Typically somebody will set up an interface, start sending data to the Pi server, and then they will start getting that negative 10401 error. They don't have permission to write to the server. So that's typically, we hear about that error, the first thing we say is trust, because you probably don't have a trust set up. So here are some recommendations that we have for what you should set up, or the type of trust that you should set up for a typical interface. So let's say that you're using the OPC interface. We suggest that you create a Pi user. This is going to be a Pi user, and give it some name like interface or OPCint or something like that that makes it obvious that this is a user who is simply constructed for the purpose of allowing this trust, allowing this interface to write to Pi tags. Next thing you do is on your Pi server, a trust is always built on the Pi server, you would create a trust that allows your remote interface node to be granted permission to use the privileges of that account, and you can base that trust on either host name or IP address and application name. So again, what we mean here is we want the interface node that is connecting to be associated with a trust that has that Pi user as that Pi user you just created as the Pi user whose privileges you will be granted. So you create a trust that either specifies any one of these attributes and that allows the interface node to connect, giving him the privileges of that Pi user. And then the big finish, of course, is at this point you need to assign that user account as the data owner of all the tags that are associated with that interface. Now by that, what we mean is you go into the point configuration, and the attribute called data owner should be set to interface. That's the name of the user that you created up here, interface or OPCint if you had chosen to use that. And of course you'd use OPCint down here. But in any case, the same name as the user that you've configured up here, that's the data owner, and then specify that that particular owner has read-write access. Give that owner read-write access, and in this way, when this interface connects, it's going to be given the privileges of the user called data owner, and it will only be able to write to those tags that are associated with that interface.